Hi, my name is Elizabeth Gartman. I'm a composer and soprano currently based in New York City. I'll start by saying vocalism is a large part of my work. As I mentioned, I'm a trained singer as well as a composer, and so I'm always thinking about the voice's relationship to the body and how that resonates with the instruments, whether or not they're vocal instruments. In this case, they're not. And the piece was originally written for uh, a ballet to be choreographed, and it has that was its premiere. It was premiered with New Chamber Ballet and commissioned with them as well. But again, there were no singers. There were the dancers, and there were the uh, instruments, the violin and the piano. And so, taking a vocal work or the vocal works of Strauss, for example, one of my absolute favorites, um, was exciting to say the least. Just looking at the music itself, I think a lot about line, breath, things that the voice in the vocal works can do, or things that I've studied if I've studied these works, and what that approach might be, and then translate it to the instruments and their playing. I'll also share that the ideas behind like the vocal mechanism, like physical ideas, um, respiration, phonation, vibration, the whole piece. So not this segment of the ballet which is being programmed by Soli, but the very beginning, another chunk of the ballet, started with this idea that I take different pieces that I just mentioned of the vocal mechanism and I translate them to instruments. So what does it sound like, or what does it even look like if we take the idea of expansion and contraction of the diaphragm and put it to the piano? And then what does that sound like? Or a vibration or a resonance in the chamber of the mouth. Throughout the ballet, I had the dancers speak their own name, talking about resonance in their mouths, and then dance their name. And then from there, I wrote music based on their movements. So the idea of the voice is integral in Vox opening as well. It starts with vibration really fast. A lot of the ideas that I took for the opening was vibration. And then Strauss's work Ständchen, which is a vocal work that I sang as a baby undergrad singer, and I loved, and it was all about line and breath and excitement, and I wanted to capture that in this work. I feel it does, but I also feel their function is different. Their function is different than the dancers. Although, as I was writing this, the dancers did also serve a sonic function, and that was something that I embraced. And that's also something I embraced even when there aren't dancers, right? There is a sense of energy involved with the players physically moving their bodies to make the sounds on their instrument, which I'm also obsessed with and constantly thinking about. And there's a bit of freedom in that as to when they choose to move. Also, there's two of them, two players in this piece, and so there's a movement between the two as they're coordinating. There are times where the violinist does not have a meter and the pianist is following the violinist, and vice versa. So movement physically is kind of a part of their language, more likely than not. Looking back on the process of creating this whole work with originally with New Chamber Ballet, yeah, I thought a lot about function and how movement could fill the space within the music. I do think that this example, which Soli is programming, very much could also stand on its own and will stand on its own. The movement is so vibrant within it. But when we add the dancers, there is an added dialogue there. It's something new, it's something different almost when it's programmed as a ballet versus a chamber work. There is still movement there, but it just serves a different function. I definitely used to sing opera. I don't coin myself as an opera singer anymore, although I don't like boxes or putting myself into genres. So I will sing whatever comes my way, kind of. I really love writing opera. I do. I love the collaborative aspect, and this is something in writing this piece as well that is programmed was also exciting for me because I'm just obsessed with the collaborative aspect. I'm obsessed with more than one person getting to witness a work and add their lens to it per se, and then have it be born from that, and then the audience projects their own lens onto it. And I'm like, I love that journey for a work of music. And I mean, opera has that. Opera is also really absurd, and that's also another thing I love about it. And yeah, my work as a singer, not an opera singer so much anymore. I do a lot of, like, as a singer, I stick to like chamber gigs and new pieces. I love singing new work. Some choral stuff. Yeah, that's where my voice sits right now. But it's also really fun to hand it off to a singer who can like just let it out. I mean, for that
Sure.
performance, we were working with the Caffrey's young artists, and they were amazing. One of my singers was a Met competition winner,
Oh,
and the
wow.
others are like, yeah, they're so good. They're so good. All three of the ones I worked with are so good, and so you just hand it to them, and it's the same. It's like they're taking it and blossoming it. Yeah, it's cool. Listen, I'm 27. At this point, if an opportunity comes and I'm excited about it, I will do it. And lately it's been a lot of vocal music and a lot of opera and a lot of vocal inspired works, just because I think that's my experience thus far. This next season, I have potential commissions for a string quartet, some duos, some other things that would be a piano trio potentially. So a lot more like chamber works, excluding the voice, which I'd also, I want to explore. Yeah, so far it's just a matter of what has come my way and what I've been excited about. The voice is my favorite instrument to write for, but I really like it all. And I think each piece that I write represents something entirely new for me. And the process, I will say the process for me is more important than even the work itself. It's like what will I use this piece to kind of work through for myself, or what am I learning for myself as I'm writing this? And then when it's done, I don't see it as mine anymore. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to whoever is witnessing it and performing it, and in those moments. And then when it's not being performed, it belongs to no one. That is actually something that I'm working on, is I want to love the process.
Mm.
And I like it a lot. I've learned to be really authentic with myself in my music. And I think composing is all about making choices. And I feel like I have to make the right ones for that piece or whatever. It's all about making choices. And I want to walk away from my pieces. I don't always get this result, but I've tried a lot of times to be like, it had to be that choice. Basically, I'm still working on that process. But it is something, I mean, as composers, we spend so much time in our process, like so much more time writing a work than you will ever know as an audience. Like you get this 7 minute piece and you're like, okay, that's it, that's cool. But that 7 minute piece took, 8 plus hours a minute. Like that's time by ourselves. I am still working on that process and working on loving that process and loving myself as a part of that process. It is all intertwined. So yes, occasionally I am in bed engraving late at night, and you know, that's part of it too for me now, I guess. And yeah. The name of the game is compromise, and also trust, and knowing how you fit into um that journey to achieve that piece to its capacity, I guess. When I think about my most successful collaborative experiences, there always is like this element of, I will be authentic and honest if I think something needs to change, or if I don't see eye to eye as far as where that part of their contribution is going. But I also need to know that they have their own process, and I need to respect it the entire time. Also, our relationship as people, if I do have a previous relationship with them, oftentimes I collaborate with my friends or people that I respect, outside of like the concert hall or wherever this piece is happening. And that conserving that relationship is also usually very important to me. So remembering what that is, remembering what place like the art actually serves in our lives. And usually it ends like, so far it's been well. So far it's worked out really well. The collaboration for this, like Vox, the whole ballet, we really, like, Miro, the choreographer, would give me ideas, and he would also occasionally, like, there was a moment he said, I need 2.5 minutes of music sounding like this. Can you do that? It's like, okay, yes. And I did that, you know, for that, because he needed that transition to get back. Though there was actually, ironically, a lot of back and forth on the order of the pieces. If you saw in the program note, opening actually closed our premiere, which was really weird. And it was like a last minute decision. That he said this kind of needs to happen this way, and I agreed for this performance. We are revamping it for next year, and I'm writing about 10-15 minutes more music, and then we'll look at the order again. That was part of the collaboration, and also understanding that I do not choreograph. I can feel and see things with my body, but that is not my wheelhouse per se. And although Miro does have an extensive musical background, he really gave me freedom to concoct what I wanted to with the dancers and for the dancers and for myself. And then here's what we got. People don't allow for creative freedom if they question what you're doing. And so I think allowing your collaborators freedom, you know, within range is it. Yes, being an educator has influenced so much about my compositional voice. And actually, you know, I'm quite new to being a composition teacher and still finding, like, what does it mean to be a composition teacher? Like, can you even teach composition? And I'm so fortunate, like all of my composition students really have a drive to create, which that is one thing I don't know if you can teach. You can teach form and craft or shape those at least, or provide suggestions and shape the way people hear and listen, which I think is a large part of composing. I sit with my students and we'll talk about the form of this piece and how this section could be longer. I think there needs to be an extra beat there. What does that mean to you? What are you trying to achieve in doing that? And then I go home to my own work. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? You know, Miss Gartman, I look at their works with an eye that is somewhat removed. And so I'm able to kind of look at my own works, not necessarily from the exact same objective eye, but in a way that it is a little bit more questioning. Also, I think being a teacher really challenges what I know. I also teach analysis and transcription, and I teach theory at the two schools. And so I have to show them some really cool rep and show them how to analyze it and show them those tools and chord progressions and therefore I gotta really know it. And so I'm working on being adept at these things and then being able to bring them into my own work. If I want to use that borrowed 6 chord from that Radiohead song that we analyzed, and like I know that as an example now of something that I liked, because I think also to be a composer is to be like an aware person in the world. To be a creator of anything, you have to be aware of what's going on around you. Receiving conversation with these teenagers, they are getting it. They are receiving things from all sorts of angles in this tough world, and that also shapes me as a person, and therefore my music is shaped because of that. If you'd like to see more, hear more from me and my work, please visit elizabethgartman.com. I'd also like to give a shout out, of course, this excerpt of this work was originally commissioned by Miro McGlure and New Chamber Ballet. So we are in New York City, and thank you so much.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this interview and want to see more like it, check out the 30x30x30 playlist on our channel. For more information about the 30x30x30 project, check out the website linked to the right.